Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. I'm Wolf, and welcome back to Guild Wars 2. Now today I'm going to be detailing a build that I've been using in PvP pretty often. This is going to be the Mace Condition Berserker. Seems that conditions have kind of taken over massively recently. Let's just make sure I'm out of the fray over there. It seems to have taken a massive place in the PvP meta of Guild Wars 2, and power seems to be, it's there, but it's kind of on the way out, it seems. Unless you're playing like Great Sword or something like that, standard Great Sword hammer type of thing. But this is going to be Mace Shield Condition. So this is going to be running Berserker, and you can put out a lot of damage with this. There's also a bit of a weapon swap up you can do. I'm going to show you guys what I like to play, and then kind of how the meta build is meant, but still. So let's just hop into the PvP build, shall we? So of course we've got our Mace Shield here, and we're going to be rolling with Sigil of Doom and Sigil of Annulment on this. So your next attack after swapping to this weapon while in combat will remove 2 boons from your target, and then Sigil of Doom, your next attack after you swap to this, will inflict poison for 5 seconds. A nice little bit of extra condition damage there, and able to pull off some boons from your target. So fantastic all around here. And then you can play this with either a two-handed hammer, which I like to play personally, or with a longbow, which is a kind of meta way to play this because longbow can put out a lot of conditions and things. But personally, I prefer hammer as it allows me to get out a lot of damage and a lot of CC as well with staggering blow and backbreaker. That's the way I like to roll personally. But you can play this, of course, with the longbow, and the longbow does a pretty substantial amount of condition damage. And of course, you got that pin down for the cripple and that sort of thing. So there's a lot of different CC mechanics with longbow as well. But personally, I like to opt for hammer. And on the hammer, you're going to have Fability, which I probably said that wrong, but still. And that's going to be on hit, inflict vulnerability. And then you're going to have Sigil of Cleansing, which is remove 1 condition when you swap to this weapon in combat. Now you're going to be using your hammer for CC, so you're going to be kind of swapping off it when you need to stun or when you need to get more burst attacks off. Because your burst will reset its cooldown whenever you swap to a different weapon. That's the kind of way the warrior works, and it's exceptionally good. Now going into the runes and the amulet here, we're going to be going with Rabbit Amulet, which is 900 precision, 900 toughness, and 1200 condition damage. You can see there's pretty much no power in this build. However, it's got a ton of condition damage and a ton of toughness. So while you are kind of average on the health pool, you are extremely, extremely tanky. And I've been able to actually win a 3v1 with this build. It is exceptional. And then over to the rune here. This is going to synergize perfectly with our Rabbit Amulet. And we're going to be running Rune of the Undead. It's going to be condition damage, toughness, condition damage, more toughness, more condition damage, and then 7% of toughness is converted to condition damage. Notice how we have 2000 toughness, so that's going to convert a nice amount over into even more damage. So that's going to be the build here, and then we've got the specializations over here. We're going to be going Discipline, Defense, and Berserker. Now Discipline, we're going to be taking Warrior Sprint, because it just lets us move faster, get the cap points faster, that sort of thing. And then it removes your mobilization whenever you use a movement ability. Now, the only movement abilities we have on this weapon set is going to be Shield Bash. However, when we swap over to Hammer, this is why I like to play Hammer personally, is we have the Rupturing Burst, which is going to be really Rupturing Smash Burst skill, which is also going to remove immobilizations and that sort of thing. So that's part of the reason I like Hammer, is a nice little extra immobilization removal. And then after that, we're going to take Brawler's Recovery, which is remove conditions when you swap weapons. We got some nice Condi removal from this and the Hammer Sigil, which is going to be fantastic for us. Then we've got Burst Mastery, which is going to be pretty good. Burst skills deal damage, or deal more damage, and restore a portion of adrenaline spent on use. So that's going to be fantastic for when you get Berserk up, keeping those burst skills rolling out, because you'll see Skull Grinder does tons and tons of conditions. Blind, Bleed, Confusion, and Cripple, alongside removing 3 conditions. So Skull Grinder is going to be the main source of damage from this, and it is exceptional. Moving down to defense here, we have Shield Master, as of course we are using a shield, so when we block with our shield stance, it'll reflect missiles as well. So when this is exceptional when you're at lower ratings or just in quick match, and say like a ranger rapid fires you, and you shield block and you just watch him kill himself. It's pretty damn good. And then shield skills recharge faster, and you gain might whenever you block an attack. So you get constant might as well, alongside reduced shield cooldowns, so your shield bash comes back that much faster, and so does your shield stance. And then here we've got Adrenal Health. This is kind of a minor, but this is going to be a lot of how you survive here. This is gain health based on adrenaline spent. With Berserker, we're going to be using a lot of adrenaline extremely fast, and as a result, this is going to be how we more or less survive with Adrenal Health here. And then in our next slot, we've got Defy Pain, which makes it so it activates Endure Pain when you're struck at, well, below 50% health. This is pretty standard for most warrior builds, and it's not going to be excluded here. And then we've got Cleansing Ire, which is gain adrenaline when hit, remove a condition for every bar of adrenaline spent when you hit with a burst skill. So you can see how much condition removal we've got, which is fantastic considering how prevalent like condition builds are like right now, like Condi Necro, Condi Revenant, that sort of thing. There's a lot of prevalent condition builds right now, including this one, definitely including this one. Most Berserkers you'll see are running conditions, so in a 1v1 you have a lot of Condi removal and a lot of staying power with Adrenal Health. And then we go down into the Berserker, and we've got this one you can actually play around with. I take Savage Instinct, as it allows me to break the headbutt stun, which is a nice combo that I've found myself, and allows me to get a free Skull Grinder for the most part. But the way this build was kind of supposed to be played was Last Blaze, as this gives you more condition damage, but I like the synergy of Savage Instinct and Headbutt. Essentially, whenever you headbutt, if you connect with your target, you'll get self-stunned for 1 second. Now, I've done this with stability, and I've still gotten stunned, which is kind of weird, which is why I like to take Savage Instinct. This also removes conditions. So you'll headbutt, you'll pop your Berserk, it'll break the stun, and you'll be good to go to slam them with a Skull Grinder and get that damage rolling yet again. That's why I like to play Savage Instinct. However, you can play Last Blaze if that stun doesn't bother you. And then Dead or Alive, taking fatal damage while in Berserk, will heal you for a pretty substantial amount. Nice little bit of a safety net. Has saved me more than enough times. And on the other tiers, which aren't really that great, Blood Reaction, maybe because we do have a lot of precision coming from that amulet. But personally, Dead or Alive, doing work. And then King of Fires is going to be where a ton of damage comes from. Increases the duration of burning you apply, gain Fire Aura when you critically hit an enemy, which is extremely often. And Berserker skills will detonate Fire Aura, damaging and burning nearby foes. So that's going to synergize extremely well with Rupturing Smash, which is going to detonate the Fire Shield around me and do a nice bit of extra damage and more burn and that sort of thing. So that's going to be the build, and then over to the utilities. We have Healing Signet, pretty self-explanatory. Don't ever pop Healing Signet unless you are stacked up with a bunch of conditions to get resistance. But even then, we have a bunch of condition removal. You're pretty much going to be fine. I just leave Healing Signet alone, let it heal me repeatedly, and let it do its thing. And then I have Berserker Stance, which is going to be where you can get another source of resistance alongside a lot of adrenaline. So this is fantastic if you're kind of in a stall moment in Berserk and you don't really have any form of generating adrenaline. You can pop this and you should be good to go. Or you can pop this to get you up to Berserk as well if you don't have Headbutt up. But do note, it's a 60-second cooldown, so use it sparingly. And then Endure Pain. This is pretty self-explanatory on pretty much every single warrior build. You take no damage from incoming attacks, however you can still take damage from conditions, and you are still CC'd, although this does break CC. So Endure Pain, a fantastic counter to all forms of power damage. Any power damage will just be nullified completely, and then of course conditions you still take damage from, but we have enough condition removal in the build to be pretty much fine when it comes to a ton of conditions and that sort of thing. And an ability I personally love, which is Shattering Blow. This is going to, you literally punch a rock and you break it, and you gain a bunch of adrenaline and send out these rock fragments that'll bleed all foes in front of you, and you'll block attacks and gain boons while activating this skill. So during this animation, you block, and you gain a decent amount of adrenaline, and you bleed people, and that sort of thing. So you also gain stability from this. So this is probably one of my favorite abilities warriors have, just because of how damn cool it looks like. Have a look at this again, one more time. That just looks amazing. And on top of that, it's exceptional as well. So a fantastic amount of adrenaline, and you can reflect missiles with it for a split second as well, although I like the shield block instead for that. But yeah, So Shattering Blow is going to take that third slot of the utilities. And then for the elite, we have Headbutt, which is going to be stun your target, stun yourself, gain adrenaline if you hit. Now, by adrenaline, it means a full adrenaline bar. 30 adrenaline gains 30 adrenaline. So you can see why that is kind of exceptional. So I'll show you kind of what I meant by the Headbutt stun removal. You headbutt, it'll hit, you'll get stunned, and you can pop your Berserk, and it'll instantly pull you out of the stun, to then go for more damage, however you would like to. And you're going to be able to put out an exceptional amount of damage with this build. Let me just go over a couple of the burst combos before I hop over to some gameplay. So we're going to be starting off in our Mace and Shield. So generally what I'm going to do, I'm going to kind of wait on my cooldowns for the next 5 seconds or so, is I'm going to go in, I'm going to try and headbutt, break the stun with Berserk, and hit them with a Skull Grinder, and either a Pommel Bash or a stun, depending on the class. Like if it's a Guardian, I'm going to hit them with the Pommel Bash, or just an auto attack to break the Aegis, if the Aegis hasn't already been broken by Skull Grinder. But I find that going with the Pommel Bash makes it so most people can't really escape, and they can still move around, but then you can follow them and follow up with a Shield Bash, so they can't really run away from it. So let's hit the heavy one. So it's going to be Headbutt, break that stun into Berserk, and then follow it with a stun and a Pommel Bash off. There's another full Skull Grinder, and then you still have CC on your hammer. So you can see the CC chain going on there. You have a lot of CC with this, and a lot of damage with it as well, because while I can't really showcase the damage potential on a heavy golem, because of course it is a lot of confusion, so they're not really using any skills or that sort of thing, you can see there's pretty good damage just there from most of my damage being from confusion and bleeds and burns and that sort of thing. I can't really, of course, showcase confusion damage, but you'll be able to see that in the gameplay. So that's just kind of how I like to play with the burst combo there. It's exceptionally fast and really fast-paced, but most of Guild Wars 2 PvP is. And once you grasp it, you can get it down pretty quickly. So I'll show you that one more time. We're going to headbutt, break the stun, then into Skull Grinder, stun, and I did it a little bit too fast. But then after that, you want to go for the Pommel Bash. That's a split second later. I did it a little bit too fast. And you should probably have a Skull Grinder backup. And then you want to swap over to your hammer, go for the Earth Shaker, knock him down, and Backbreaker. And you kind of see the CC combo going on there. And you can CC someone for a pretty long time if they have no real way to break it, and they don't dodge the Pommel Strike or the Shield Bash stun. So you can get a nice CC chain going. A ton of damage coming from this. And this is what I've been using in Ranked currently on my Warrior, when I'm not, of course, recording the full story. So that's going to be the build, and then there's going to be a link on screen right now taking you to the gameplay.